Well, I think our platform has to reflect our nominee. And our nominee's position actually happens to be one grounded in reality. The reality of it is the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And what that basically means is that now it's not states, it's voters at individual states who will get to decide how and to what level they want to restrict abortion, if at all. Some states will have restrictions, some states will not.
Senator Marco Rubio on Sunday said he supports leaving abortion up to the states in an apparent about-face on his once staunch pro-life stance that supported a federal ban on abortion. That same day, GOP Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio and potential Republican Vice President also pulled a 180, openly supporting access to the abortion pill mifepristone when he spoke on NBC's Meet the Press. March for Life President Jeannie Mancini called J.D. Vance's comments supporting access to the abortion pill hugely disappointing on X. Both Rubio and Vance's remarks came just a day before the GOP's language on abortion slightly changed. The Republican National Convention adopted new language Monday on the party's platform on abortion, suggesting to leave it to the states, a position held by former President Donald Trump. However, the GOP also included language on the 14th Amendment's protections for life. Meantime, in a letter he sent to Democrats following the holiday weekend, President Joe Biden used fear tactics, saying in part that Trump and MAGA Republicans, quote, are going after everything from contraception to IVF to the right to marry who you love. And they have made it clear they will ban abortion nationwide. We will let none of that happen. We will make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again. The presidential election is just a few months away. 6 states will have abortion on the ballot come November, and 7 are considering the measure. The 6 states voting on abortion are Colorado, Florida, Maryland, Nevada, New York, and South Dakota. The 7 states considering the measure include Arkansas, Arizona, Iowa, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, and Pennsylvania. Former President Trump continues to iterate that abortion should be left up to the states, while Biden calls for it to be a constitutional right. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, joins us in studio now to help digest how the pro-life movement moves forward after the Supreme Court's decisions, the presidential debate, and the potential shift in the GOP's abortion position. Marjorie, I'm so glad that you're here. Obviously, this is a complicated landscape now.
Yes. Wow, and that was quite a wrap-up. I think it's a good synopsis of where we stand 2 years after Dobbs.
That's right.
We would like to have been in a position where we could save every single unborn child. We could serve every mom that has need. But what we've experienced is an enormous blowback, and everything that you just communicated is the expression of that. So I think what we're trying to do, and we can go through the various things that you just went through, what we're trying to do is, honestly, at this point, you know what an unmitigated disaster is. Well, we're trying to mitigate what looks to be a disaster and a falling apart at the center of the commitment of the Republican Party on pro-life.
So there are 2 ways to look at this when we address what Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance have expressed in their positions about the life issue, right? Mm-hmm. You could say maybe this is a career move, they want to be vice presidents, or they're trying to do politically what you just said, mm-hmm. kind of mitigate this ongoing fear that we're going to keep losing on the life issue at the ballot box. Which one is it?
Well, it's a huge disappointment, like Jeannie said, that that either of them would say either of those things, especially the categorical commitment to access to mifepristone is just unacceptable. Both of those statements were unacceptable. I do think they, in a misguided way, are trying to finesse, nuance the politics with a presidential nominee who has committed only to states and himself having no job to do as president. Mm-hmm. And so that's what everyone is trying to do. Everyone is trying to pull something good out of a very difficult environment. I'm not going to apologize for their commitments. I would comment on the platform, though. Mm-hmm. The platform, we have been, I guess I would say, another place where we're looking at unmitigated disaster and trying to mitigate what could have been a complete and utter disaster. And the very beginning of the platform language, it eliminates much from the past. But in the Trump administration's effort to boil it down to just like a few sentences on each, they eliminated an essential piece, but they retained an essential piece moving forward, retaining the pro-life movement, our nation's ability to justify federal legislation to be able to save every child, not just children in Oklahoma. Yeah, not just children in Oklahoma, but children in California as well. The 14th Amendment is a federal amendment, obviously. It requires the Congress to enforce it. So it is, by definition, a federal commitment. So for that reason, Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, and I praise that part of the platform commitment. Because of it, the Republican Party is able to retain its commitment to a national pro-life platform and still work for that. The bottom line is, this platform is going to have to be completely redone in 4 years, but the most urgent thing that has to be done is we have to defeat Biden and Senate and House Democrats who would pass a law to wipe out every single pro-life protection in all the 24 states that are now saving children.
Now, Marjorie, where did this come from? I mean, I do think it's important to share what you wrote so carefully about this GOP commitment. You said it's important that the GOP reaffirmed its commitment to protect unborn life today through the 14th Amendment, noting that federal piece that you were talking about. Under this amendment, it's Congress that enacts and enforces its provisions. The Republican Party remains strongly pro-life at the national level. How did we get here? Why did this discussion come about where there was this big fear? Is it because we had already had this great victory with Roe versus Wade? What were the circumstances that caused this change?
It's the right question. And I think beyond this conversation we're having today, the entire pro-life movement, leaders and grassroots, we need to be in this conversation. How do we get to a place where we're in a place of worrying that the bottom might fall out?
Yeah.
And I think it's because the moneyed interests on the pro-abortion side, the courage and aggressiveness on the pro-abortion side, and the fear and lack of funding and putting heads in the sand strategy on the part of Republican leaders across the board. These are Republican leaders, House, Senate, presidential candidates who would not speak out, who would not communicate in declarative sentences that unborn children should be protected and their mothers should be served. And instead, they just hoped we could talk about Afghanistan, we could talk about inflation, we could talk about anything but the death of a child that will happen that very day. So I think that's why we're there. If after Dobbs, moving into the last midterms, there had been a very strong point of leadership that we kept asking over and over again to have a federal limit at some point, and that would be contrasting with the Democrats in a way that serves our own future, then we would be in much better shape. Instead, we have a nominee that formerly was for at least a 20-week limit, now saying not even that. And so I think we do have to say that having that 14th Amendment piece in the platform, which we shouldn't even have to think or worry about the platform, but we do, means that we have a placeholder. And that it's really important for our movement, us, everyone watching, to nurture those next leaders that are coming up after we learned a 2-year lesson that what we did didn't work.
When
what
you
they
look
did
at,
didn't work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it didn't work, and it's not working.
Right.
When you think about the landscape at the state level moving forward, and is there anything that gives you hope? Do you have hope for a signal of this bolstered pro-life movement that you're discussing here?
The two things that I see hope for is one is just that I see this every day, today. The enthusiasm in the battleground states with all the door-to-door activity. There will be 10 million people reached by our folks in presidential and Senate battlegrounds. 4 million of those will be visits at the door, actual conversations for everybody who's home about what's at stake, why this is important, what is that contrast. There is enthusiasm about defeating Biden, and that may be a negative enthusiasm. However, it means the flame is alive. We know the wolf is at the door. We cannot let him in, and that we have something to build on. Sometimes we do best in negative environment. It does draw us together. The other thing that I think is exciting is that I do think the thing that we just talked about head in the stand, the ostrich strategy, all that, I really do think that Republicans have learned that this is not going to work. That whole idea is, by definition, cowardice. And you either define yourself and your opponent, or you will be defined and you'll lose.
With that definition, then, just quickly, we have 1 minute left. Do you think that the Democrat Party's move to make abortion the central part of their platform this round was a mistake?
I think it was smart if our candidates continue to do what they've been doing. But I think it was a mistake if what I see moving forward now is true. And that is a full-throated, okay, we screwed up in the midterms, we're going to have to fix it now. So I actually think that it could be a mistake. I think they've overreached, as they often do, in ways that led to the overturn of Roe versus Wade. And I think they're doing it again now, and I think we could very possibly turn this thing around. But faith, hope, on our knees, unity in the moment that seems really difficult is where we need to be.
Well, that's at least a hopeful assessment moving forward. Thank you so much, Marjorie.
Thank you always, Muncie.
Yeah.